All right, welcome back, terrestrials, and keeping theme with the top horror of each.
Ray, unconscious chanting. You're chanting. I want to kill everyone. Satan is good. Satan is our pal. Ray.
Subgenre. This one we are doing comedies.
Yep. It's just
And-
strange. Like, oh no. What are we doing this week?
Well, actually, I have a letter.
Call
Call back from last week if you guys watch. All right, so so we're doing comedies and horror comedies. We both landed on the Burbs. So
Right.
that's one that's our top horror comedy.
The Burbs.
Yeah, Idle Hands is real close. Shaun of the Dead's real close, but we're doing the Burbs, so just
right. We've already done
buckle
Tucker
up.
and Dale versus Evil. Horror comedies. Let's start with that premise.
Concept. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
That like you can do them really good. Like there are very few that are bad, but then there are those that go into the realm of kind of parody where they're making fun of.
Yeah.
Would you put the scary movie like trilogy, anthology, whatever, in that genre where they're making fun of horror?
Are we talking about Scare Package?
No, we're talking about Scary Movie 1, Scary Movie 2, Scary Movie 3.
No, because I don't even find them comedy.
No.
So and they're definitely not horror.
No.
So I don't think they have a category.
I just see them like more people would identify Ghostface from that. More people would identify
at one point. Yeah, maybe. I mean, that is its own. I would say that that's horror parody,
right?
Because comedies are horrors that have like Idle Hands, like Shaun of the Dead.
Right.
They're horror movies, but they're just funny horror movies.
Right.
And those are more like parroting and parodying
the horror genre.
The genre as a whole. Yeah.
I've only laughed once in one of those movies. My girls love them, but I've only laughed once. And it was the Charlie Sheen Signs one. Like, you've seen them?
Yeah.
Okay, so Charlie Sheen they were parodying Signs.
Yeah.
And it's the part where like Mel Gibson is going to basically talk to his dead wife before they remove the truck, and it was the neighbor driving drunk, and he's like, I'm a little too drunk tonight, I think I'm gonna need a ride home. Okay. Like, that's the only time I've ever laughed at those, and it's still like, but everything else it's just like, oh yeah fucking
yeah. I mean, I see the humor in them, and like I get it, I get the jokes and stuff. It's okay, it's cool, whatever.
It's okay.
Like I watched them, but they're not good by any means, and they're not a horror comedy. They're just a parody of
they're just a comedy
genre.
that has parody to it. But compared to what we're doing, the Burbs, Idle Hand, Shaun of the Dead,
right?
Any others? We said Tucker and Dale.
I Might Be the Killer is a good one.
Yeah.
Let's see what's close, because usually that one.
I'm checking the stock. Shit.
But those are like intentional comedy horrors,
right?
Like,
they're comedies set in a horror background, and this, I would say, next to all the ones that we've listed, is probably it. If you take the comedy out, you can have a really fucking successful horror movie, and that's why I think this wins. A unique horror story.
Yeah, I mean, this movie, it's great. It's so many things though.
Right.
Like not only is it a good story, it's a fun story. It's got the proper horror elements that they dialed back. It's not super scary.
I don't know. Some of those scenes are pretty fucking creepy.
I mean, yeah, they have that intention, but they don't like strike fear in you because of the fact that it's a comedy too. Like you know that it's not going, but like on the subtle level, like in these types of movies, it's always kids. Like
Mm,
the kids are always the ones that are like they notice something weird and
right.
they tell the parents and parents don't believe them. So now they've got to go like suburbia, I think was one of them, and like summer of 84 was another one.
Yeah.
Like the kids notice, like Fright Night kind of thing, like the
Right.
neighbors weird. But in this movie, the kids, being Corey Feldman and his friends, are sitting back watching the adults act like kids,
Yeah.
and they play it straight. Like there's no nod to the fact that these adults are doing this outrageous shit that is
Yeah. The
like
wives are the
every step of it's
adults.
illegal.
Right. The neighbors, it bled into like, oh, this is where like Karen culture comes from, where it's just like mind your own goddamn business. I can't. I think they're burning bodies. There's a no.
Well,
I've
that's
never.
also another statement on suburbia.
Right. We can't
Like
mind our own.
it's just it's there's nothing to do.
What's our
There's
neighbor
nothing
doing?
wrong in Caucasia.
No.
Like we just watch each other because there's nothing going on. We have
Right.
no lives. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So yeah, it's just hilarious. It,
Yes.
it's it's good on so many different levels. And like going back to like them acting like kids, there's the scene where like Art is outside with the army guy and he's like, let Ray come out. And she's like,
Yeah.
no, not till he
Yeah.
resembles the man I married. And he's like,
Yeah.
we don't have time for that. Like, and then she says no. And
Yeah.
he like kicks rocks like a kid. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just, it's such a good movie on so many different levels.
Right.
Like, everything is a subtle joke, even like the camera angle when it's zooming in and out, and they're like, ah, and then like
Yeah.
Art stops and he's like, hey, hey, hey. He's like, huh?
Right.
Like
And like
it
this is a femur.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's just fun. Like the movie is a lot of fun.
and there are
It's
so many points in this movie too where you go, no, the neighbors aren't like creeps.
mhm,
They're just normal neighbors.
yeah,
There's in so many points
yeah,
that tell us maybe they're actually just, decent people.
yeah,
They're just
yeah.
they just
The
weird
crazy
and
people are Ray, Art, and the army guy for
right.
like breaking in and shit.
Right, right. And but then yeah,
But then
there's
Corey Feldman saves the whole movie. Like he saves everyone in that
yeah,
movie.
yeah, exactly. Friggin' um but yeah, it never like comes across as just like why don't we just call the cops?
Yeah,
Why don't we do that? Oh, the one neighbor down at the end of the cul-de-sac, it's like why don't we just get a hold of somebody and maybe find out what happened to him? Call the cops. If he's missing, call the fucking cops,
right. Yeah. All logical steps are immediately skipped.
Right, right.
It's that's why that's why it's so fun because like
Hmm.
Art and Ray are just egging each other on to like, and of course the army guy's like, yeah, I'm down for whatever.
Yeah, yeah. He's
So
bored as
like
shit.
like
Fucking
yeah,
his
they're
life's
that's what I'm saying.
boring.
They're all bored in suburbia. That's
Right.
what like Caucasia in Caucasia they have nothing to do.
Correct.
So that's what brings all this on.
No.
Like they all all logic goes out the window. Like,
Yeah.
no, we're not going to call the cops. We're not going to call hospitals. We're not going to like mind our own business. We're immediately going to jump to they killed him
They killed. Yeah.
and we need to break into his house to make sure of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then their house. You know what I mean? Like it's so absurd. And
And like,
that's the great thing about the movie is
mm-hmm.
because it's not even necessarily a funny movie. It's the shit
Mm,
that they're doing. Don't get me wrong, there are funny moments,
right.
but like the movie is so fun. Like the actions and the logic and like the role reversal and all this stuff makes it so fun to watch
Right.
that it becomes even funnier.
Like, I will say that Tom Hanks, this is probably one of his best just like physical comedy. Like the
Hmm.
stuff he does
Yeah.
in this movie is like top notch
Yeah.
of just like the eating of the cracker and the sardine,
Yeah.
like him just putting that whole thing in his mouth. And
Yeah.
then just like he's sitting there, just like he starts like convulsing or
Yeah.
something all of a sudden. The bees,
Yeah.
like there's just, and then I think the top, like if someone says, well, what is your funny of this movie? It's the one where like he just grabs that stretcher and he's like, just take me to the hospital, and he throws
Yeah.
it in the back, and then he just slams down on that stretcher,
Yeah.
and like
The way he responds to
oh,
Carol, the
yeah,
like deliveries of his lines from Carol, and that was an all improvised, or that was all improv by him.
yeah,
That wasn't written down. He was supposed to just lay on the stretcher,
right,
and then he got up and threw it in there and laid down.
just take me to the
And
hospital,
yeah, take me to the hospital. I'm
right,
sick. And then he
right,
gets in there. She's like, "Hon, yeah, Carol. Like, are
yeah,
you are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine, Carol.
yeah,
Like,
fine. It's like that's a suburban beaten down man right there.
yeah, dude.
He is just done. He's done. But like, and then there's like the small parts with like the car. It comes down. They're just taking the trash out. The
Yeah,
creepy neighbors are just taking the trash out, and he's like,
yeah,
I've never seen that. No one's ever just like drove down to the end of the
yeah,
block or drove down to the end of the driveway and beat the hell out of their trash. It's
yeah,
like, you sure about that? You sure about that?
yeah.
And then like
They're
they're
pulling the trash out of the trash truck.
yeah,
Those trash guys are amazing.
yeah.
He's
Oh,
like,
they have
well,
great
under the
banner.
Public Freedom Act, and he's like
Yeah,
emptying the trash for him and shit.
right,
Like, I mean, the movie is perfect from front to back.
right.
It's so good. There's so many little things in that movie that are just hilarious.
Ray, you're chanting.
Yeah,
What is it?
Satan is our friend.
Yeah.
Satan as our
I
pal.
want to
Like,
kill
yeah,
everyone. Satan is good. Satan is our pal.
yeah,
Okay, so it's like, okay, that just made this movie so
yeah,
much better. And like the nightmare,
yeah,
like he's sitting there and he's watching
yeah,
all those great horror movies on
yeah,
like TV,
yeah,
and then he has that nightmare and shit. Fucking
yeah,
brother Theodore. He is the small gray hair, not
yeah,
the
yeah.
okay, so there's the doctor, and then there's
Right,
just the one brother Theodore who like
the
he's
grumpy one,
always
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He I love his acting. He's only been in a couple of things that I've ever seen. His big claim to fame is he's always been on like David Letterman during the 80s. And he always talks like that.
yeah,
Like he's not acting. That's fucking him,
right.
you know? Fucking we were moving in all day and shit. Uh
The other guy, which both of those brothers are passed away now, but
yes.
the other guy I remember from the Disney Channel. He played a leprechaun on the Disney Channel in some
Yeah.
movies or something.
Henry Gibson is his
Yeah,
name.
yeah,
The doctor
yeah,
brother.
right.
And he used to like during like 1960s, he like read poems and shit. And he's probably not physically creepy. Like he's like, oh, he's just a regular dude. But he
Nah,
has
he's
probably one of
creepy, dude.
yeah, like if we didn't choose this for comedy, I believe this would have gone perfectly well on our Mad Men.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really see what he's into.
But that ending scene where
So,
he's in that ambulance with Tom,
right.
it
Even in the
really is.
house, even in the house before prior to that, you see like he's very friendly, but you can see that that is not
Something's
real.
right.
It is fake and it is scary how like soft and gentle he is,
Mhm.
because something's up, or this wouldn't be a movie.
Right.
So like, but like he's so friendly and like welcoming, and these people are invading his privacy, and he's just
Mm,
like, yeah, blah blah blah, no
right,
problem.
right.
And yeah, and then you see him later and you're like, fuck, there it is, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, and like that whole scene with that character. Um, and I think that's what really is the strong point of the movie, is that this movie does have a ton of characters. Bruce Dern as like the Vietnam
Yeah.
vet that won't let Vietnam go,
Right, right.
Corey Feldman, who's
Yeah.
been painting that house for like 5 days now,
Right. Yep.
like they complain about their house looking weird and creepy. Corey Feldman's house, if you kind of just like pay attention to it, his house is weird and creepy too.
Yeah.
And Corey Feldman is weird and creepy as well in the movie. Um
Hey,
Tom
Ms.
Hanks and
Rumsfeld, no tan lines today, I
yeah,
see.
yeah, it's just
And
like
then does this with the paintbrush, like,
right. What a creep. Yeah, like
the kid's a meatball.
yeah, kid's a meatball. Um and then Tom Hanks and Carrie Fisher have like the most like bland normal lives, you
Yeah.
know.
Tom Hanks only talks to his son twice in the whole movie, and because he didn't want to play a father role in the movie.
Yeah.
He didn't want the kid in the movie. He was like,
Uh,
I don't want father roles like sent to me because I like doing the other stuff that I've been doing.
right.
So I don't want to start playing dad, so I don't want a kid. And they were like, we'll just downplay him for you. And he's like,
Right.
okay.
Right. Um did you ever pay attention to the scene where fuck Tom Hanks's friend, the heavyset guy. I can't remember his Art. No.
Yeah, art.
Yeah, is his name Art?
Yeah.
Um and he's sitting there and they're at breakfast and he's
Yeah.
like eating all this food. Like
Yeah.
he's got a pineapple and he's eating
Yeah.
bacon. And
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher comes over with a bowl of something and like he puts his hand behind him and he's digging out of the bowl and eating
Yeah.
that. Like Carrie Fisher. And then we realize when Carrie Fisher walks behind him, oh, that's the dog's food.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
makes that face. And it's
Yeah.
just like it's a subtle thing. If you don't
Yeah.
pay attention, you never get that joke. But
Right.
it's just
Yeah.
like it's there. Um,
Yeah. There's so many great things about the movie.
right.
It's just like I watched it. We decided what on Saturday or something to do the
Yeah.
Burbs,
Yeah.
or maybe before that, but I've watched it like 5 times. I love that movie.
Yeah, it is a genuine, and I'm so glad that like someone right now isn't being like, oh, we should make this like a Netflix like mini series
Yeah,
show, The
right.
Burbs. I mean, you
But
could,
exploring the cul-de-sac is such a good, like,
yeah,
all the neighbors coming on mysteries, or comedy, or whatever the case is. Like, that setting is so good for movies and TV shows.
right.
It's endless. Like Weeds, like they made 12 seasons of that fucking show
Mm-hmm.
out of this girl drug dealing in this like cookie cutter neighborhood.
Neighborhood, yeah.
And it focused a lot on the neighborhood, not the like shit. It was like all her mom life, like soccer games and
Right.
shit like that. So like it was funny to watch because of that. Like that
Yeah.
is such a good setting for things, that and they nailed it. Like
Yes.
I don't think that there is a better movie than this,
No.
as far as like, especially horror comedies, but then also just like using a setting like that for your
Right.
story.
Right. If you could change anything about this movie, what would you change?
Only the continuity error in the end of the movie.
Okay.
Like Tom Hanks comes out of the house and it's exploded, and he sees his wife and he's like, Carol, I love your hair. He just keeps repeating it to her.
Yeah.
And then she
I
gets
really like your hair. I
yeah,
really
and
like
then
this.
this is because she gets it cut short and everything. But then at the end of the movie, you see them talking to each other, and it's like darkly lit towards the camera,
Mm-mm.
and the light is behind them, and you see their hair's long again. And then
I
and
did
then
not
they
notice
like,
that.
yeah, I
I'm
was
gonna
just
go
like,
back
ah,
and watch
fuck,
this.
fuck.
The only
But
thing that I wouldn't mind changing about it is maybe instead of like summertime, make it closer to Halloween.
see,
Like
no, so that's flying too close to the sun,
you think
man.
that's
That's too
okay.
on the nose.
Right.
Like it's a spooky season mystery. Like, no. I like that it was summertime or
Right.
whatever, and that he's just on vacation. It's
Right.
just whatever. That works, that plays. But if you do it closer to Halloween, then you end up like Huey Halloween or Huey
Yeah.
Doo or whatever that Adam Sandler thing is. Like it's
Yeah.
too on the nose. So I like that it's not set at Halloween time.
Yeah, and it also gives you an opportunity to watch a scary movie outside of um like around Halloween time,
Right, right.
Same reason why like I don't watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre around Halloween. I watch it
Right.
around, August and
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
things of that nature. Yeah, I can see your point. So yeah, touche. Um, yeah, I like I said, characters perfect. Cinematography pretty okay, but with the zoom camera emphasizing emotion,
Yeah.
I think that worked fine. It's almost shot like a TV show, you know, like a Malcolm in the Middle,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. It is. Um there the camera angles and like it it again, it speaks to like how good the movie is, but
Hmm.
like they don't even touch on it again, but like the supernatural aspect in the beginning when he steps onto their property and the wind picks up and shit.
Yeah.
It's like we're just not going to say that that happened and that that was weird and that's not normal,
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
the wind's not blowing in your yard, it's only blowing when you step into theirs. Like, but yeah, things like that just like the film of it just being blown, like the angle of it just being blown in his face, and he's just like, while the old guy's smoking a cigar in his window, watching him and shit at three
Right.
o'clock in the morning or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the angles are just fun. They're just there to make it more entertaining. They're not trying to do anything special.
Yeah.
They're just enhancing the movie
I
with
I think so, and not only enhancing the movie, but enhancing the tone of the movie
right
to tell you
and
there's something wrong, to
right.
make us automatically be like suburb.
Yeah,
We could have gone through this whole movie, and oh yeah, nothing was wrong with them.
yeah,
The good guys go to jail. They're the
yeah,
villains.
yeah, yeah,
They're the ones torturing these poor new neighbors
right,
from Eastern Europe and whatever
yeah,
you know like that movie could exist too, but then that means that Tom Hanks and Bruce Dern, they go to jail
yeah.
for
They should have still went
breaking
to
and
jail because there was a lot of felonies that happened, like
entering.
whether those guys were murderers or not.
Right,
Like
right.
they still blew up the fucking house, like,
Yes.
and breaking and entering and all that other shit twice, two
Yeah.
different houses on the same street. Uh,
This is so funny when they're digging up, they're digging next to a crematory, a cream,
yeah,
huge furnace,
yeah,
looking for what? Looking for
yeah,
bones,
yeah, yeah.
and then like they hit it. That's not why. That's gas. It's
Arda
just
hit
like,
the gas line, get out. He just
yeah,
turns and runs. Didn't even like let me try to help you. Like he
oh,
just dipped out.
yeah, and just to see that broken downness, I love that. Just that broken down Tom Hanks at that end of the movie. That was perfect.
Yeah,
Where he
dude.
realized I should
He
have gone
did
on
such a
vacation.
good job in this
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. I mean, there's not enough praise that we can give him
Right.
for this movie, especially most of those 80s movies, but pre Forrest Gump. Now, even pre Philadelphia,
Yeah.
where he really just like he's hitting it out of the
Mhm.
park.
Yeah.
And this is a clear one.
Oh
And
yeah.
especially for like not very many people to talk about this. Like people talk about it,
It's
but not as
it's
big.
yeah, it's not it's something that everybody knows and likes, but nobody is excited to talk about it, which I find weird.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I mean, there's so many great things. If you're gonna go back and watch it, rewatch it again, to see the continuity thing.
Yeah.
If you look closely when he comes out of the house, you can see the wires being pulled to knock down
The
the
door.
front, yeah, the
Right.
whole like porch thing. You can see them, like if you watch the sides real close, you can see that there's like huge black cables, and they run along, and when he walks past them, you can see them tighten up and start pulling back towards the house. And I was like, holy shit, I didn't see that before. I caught it
Yeah.
on VHS too. I watched this, all of them on my VHS.
Oh, you watched them all on VHS? Okay,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, that's like under a HD like copy. I can
Yeah.
understand, but on the VHS copy, it's
It's
like,
very
oh,
obvious. It's very obvious now that I've seen it.
mm,
Because yeah, it's, I think it's odd too. I
I
guess
guess
it
so.
just Joe Dante.
Oh, okay, yeah,
But it speaks to how professional and how good these guys are. Because I read somewhere that Tom Hanks and Rick Duncombe or whatever, Art's character,
right,
didn't like each other and didn't get along, and they still pulled off this amazing movie
yeah,
working well together. I mean, they're very clearly like frenemies.
yeah,
Like throughout the movie, you see like Tom Hanks is just putting up with Art, and
yeah.
Art is
That's his
just
character, the
putting
annoying,
pushing buttons like
you know,
crazy.
like, oh God, he's
Yeah,
coming over here. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, we drink beer sometimes, dude, but fucking, you
yeah,
don't need to come over here all the time, and
right.
that almost, that reminds me of like the TV show I was talking about, of that one neighbor that comes over and
Mhm.
stuff, and it's just like, what are you doing? It's like 8 in the morning. I'm in pajamas right now. Fucking get out of here, dude. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
like bruh from upstairs, and
right,
Martin
right.
just
Yeah,
comes through the fire escape, makes a sandwich, and leaves.
yeah, exactly.
Like what?
No, no. But I think also in the scary realm, when they're talking about the guy who was stuffed behind
Mhm.
a vending machine,
Yeah.
that's a great horror like ghost story,
Hmm.
like, what happened around this town
Yeah.
long ago, and it's so effective. It's has nothing to do with the movie, but it really does flow with the horror
Yeah.
aspect, and just being creepy, like that thing. And I think, aren't they talking to Corey Feldman at the time
Yeah.
when they're doing that?
And
Yeah,
right before that, Art like gives Corey the little rundown real quick, where he's like, he comes over here at night to smoke cigars because his wife doesn't know, and he thinks that she doesn't know, but he knows. Hey Ray, like does
yeah.
that thing. And then he comes over, and Tom Hanks pulls a cigar out and puts it in his mouth, and Corey Feldman says, you wouldn't happen to need a lighter, would you? And tosses him that lighter. I think that the line delivery and Tom Hanks weren't in sync,
Right.
because to say that while he clearly has a goddamn cigar in his mouth is stupid. Like, yeah, Captain, I obviously need a fucking lighter. I got a cigar in my mouth. I think he
Yeah.
was supposed to be saying that like as he walked up.
That might be in editing, like bad
Yeah,
edit. Like he just comes over and he's standing with him, and Corey Feldman's just like, "Hey,
yeah,
you need a lighter?" And then like
yeah.
he
And
pulls
then
the
he pulls
cigar
it out.
out. That would
Exactly.
have
Yeah,
worked better.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what
So
makes sense.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, we got, the dead neighbor. Is there any? No, no, you got one more. You were holding.
Oh, well, no, just a quick little fun fact.
No.
The rich guy, or the old guy, his dog Queenie,
Hmm.
is the same dog from Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
All right, well, I'll go fuck myself then.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing something to the table, I guess, dude. But we're always glad you're here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
no, yeah, I've uh, that dog,
Yeah.
which man, that dog's been great and shit.
Yeah.
I mean, what year? 89?
88,
Yeah,
89. Yeah.
80, 88, 89. This movie came out,
Yeah.
and uh,
It lived a long time. I looked at it,
it's
and
probably dead by now.
oh,
So,
yeah. Yeah. But it was like 1972 to 1992 or something like that.
wow.
Yeah. Because it was in other movies. It was in Batman Returns. It was in like a couple of other movies.
Yeah,
And from Silence of the Lamb, or from Burbs to Silence of the Lambs to like Batman 4 or whatever
yeah.
fucking 90s version.
Two.
Yeah. the
So
9091 version of it or whatever. So
good little dog there. Yeah, but anything
yeah,
else
no,
you want to? Yeah, I mean, because there's not. I mean, like we can sit here and say it's good in so many ways. This is the problem when we have like a really good movie.
yeah,
Is that there's only so many ways we can suck this movie's dick.
right, right,
So, I
yeah.
think, we've gotten it all.
It came a long time ago. We're just sucking lip noodle
Right,
now.
right,
So
right. Just,
all right.
God damn.
Uh well, do you want to jump into the Holy
Yeah,
Trinity?
yeah, we can do it. All right, is Thriller it or Kill It.
Absolutely thrilling. Love this movie.
Correct. Very thrilling. Like we said, it was a blast to watch.
Yeah.
You've watched it 5 times since
Yeah.
Saturday, and it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Cult classic.
Absolutely.
I will agree with it because it's just like I said, not very many people talk about this. It's not like there's like this. Maybe there's this underground like love for it somewhere.
Mhm.
But it's not you know like the Idle Hands
I,
underground.
well, a few of the sites that I was reading on about it all
Mhm.
refer to it as like the epitome of a cult classic,
Right.
something that everybody knows, everybody likes, but nobody talks about.
Right.
And it's just kind of like a silent thing. I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. And
but
it's really sad because I think it should be like put on that mantle of
yeah,
very cult classic.
it is. It is. I think
So
so.
going to the theater.
Hell yeah, I would see this again.
Yeah, I would see this in the theater. I think
Yeah,
that would be fun. I think it would bring more interesting. I know with all the continuity and the craziness, it would
yeah,
probably bring more to the theater, like to
yeah,
see more, especially big like
yeah,
that. So, all
yeah.
right, we're gonna start now. What are you giving it?
5.
I'm gonna give it 5 as well.
Yeah.
This deserves it. I know we've
Mhm,
like privately both talked about it once or twice.
mhm.
Yeah, I don't see any really big negatives about the movie, and that's the problem.
I think it's a flawless movie.